You know, fellow gamers, outside of the horrible oppression and romantic difficulties we have to face down every day, I think we're a pretty blessed demographic. At least in the sense that we're certainly spoiled for choice. And don't get me wrong, there's a practically never-ending wave of abysmal, low-effort, trash games being peddled to us constantly. But there's another similar wave, it's just a teeny bit smaller, and it's full of these really amazing projects that are genuinely worth our attention. There's so much to choose from, and there's so much talent working in this industry that a ton of great work fades away into obscurity without so much as a cult following. And the bar is being so consistently raised that these games which are deemed too derivative without having this immense coat of polish, they're pretty quickly shrugged off. Our topic for today is a game that seems pretty certain to meet such a fate, a title known as Industria. You guys know that whole emotional walking simulator genre, games with little to nothing in the way of mechanics because they just want you to engage with their story or visuals. And you know how most of them are fucking terrible. I mean, like Firewatch is pretty great. Edith Finch was alright. Maybe a couple others, I don't know. And then the rest are these really amateurishly written, boring looking slogs that don't seem to justify being a video game in the first place. Yeah, it's probably obvious that I'm not personally a huge fan of that genre, but Industria could have been that, and I still would have been all about it. Exploring these really beautiful areas, picking up some visual storytelling, even reading the goddamn notes lying around, something nobody in the history of the world has ever actually enjoyed, is enjoyable here, because they're all discussing shit that's actually interesting and directly tied to what you're seeing around you or your character's personal quest. And it's not even that this is some brilliant fucking Dostoevsky mixed with Harlan Ellison masterpiece of a story, because it really isn't. Almost everything about this game is actually pretty derivative of something else that did it better. But the presentation is so strong and striking that it makes for a really engrossing little 3 to 4 hour trek. And before I keep rambling on about all that in these vague, spoiler-free terms for too long, I guess we better get into the nuts and bolts of this baby. So how does this video game that you're meant to play feel to play? Well, it feels like 2005. And who doesn't love that, right? In the special thanks section of this game's credits, the developers give recognition to both the creators of Half-Life 2 and Frictional Games. They're really not shy about letting you know their inspirations and what they were hoping to accomplish here. Now, the story of Industria is a science fiction one, no doubt, something that Half-Life 2 and Frictional Soma are both S-tier examples of. But Industria's tale does enough to stand on its own that I pretty highly doubt story is what landed these two in the credits. It's more than likely that sweet, very outdated gameplay. You like picking up boxes and moving them 5 feet so you can use them as a stool? How about environmental puzzles that are a lot less puzzling and a lot more breaking shit? Super simplistic AI that still manages to outperform your maple syrup reflexes. Opportunities for exploration that reward you both with supplies and immersive content. What about the sound of robots dying? You like that? Industria certainly stands on the shoulders of giants, but it knows that it's not flying. It's a very indie rendition of gameplay conventions that their inspirations perfected. It's like a love letter written in crayon. If we're going to compare it to what it imitates in any department other than visual strength, I'm sure we can all agree it doesn't hold up. The combat and level design are passable, but not in any way excellent or as smart as Half-Life. And the exploration is fun, but not nearly as gripping as in any Frictional title. But these comparisons, while being totally valid and even somewhat invited by the developers, can kind of prevent us from judging the game on its own merits. Like was hinted at earlier, Industria is a really great example of something being more than the sum of its parts. So you take a kind of generic but moderately interesting plot, some mech characters with Fiverr level voice acting, gameplay that's just good enough to keep you from getting frustrated, a couple technical hiccups, visual blemishes, and then you top it off with some amazing artistry and a really strong sense of personality. Anyway, you cram all that shit into a sock until it's this nice condensed package, and you just start fucking... So we sort of lost the analogy there, but you get what I'm saying. The presentation here is so tight, it's constantly moving and keeping something interesting in front of you, respecting your time. There's really nothing in the way of padding here. Like I saw one guy say he didn't really care for the black and white library sequences, and totally fine, no one's bashing that take, I can see why. But lucky for him, you can walk through them in like 45 seconds if you want and get right back to, you know, lightly flirting with some crippled commie or whatever it is you like to do. Are there speedruns for this game yet? Hold on. Nah, don't think so. Anyway, Jesus. You know, this is like the worst organized video yet. Am I somehow getting... Am I getting worse at this? Type presentation, right. You like really big ideas being concentrated down into flavorful little bites. By the end of Industria, they'll hit you with time travel, alternate realities, sentient AI, human ascendance into artificial conscience, exploding robot dogs, right? Lots of meaty sci-fi ideas. You're not gonna get lost though, I promise, because it's all like 95% set dressing. I can see the argument that it's a flaw in writing to toss around a bunch of crazy complex shit to help build your story and world, but only utilize them on a surface level without exploring them more deeply. I see the argument, but in the context of a piece of interactive media meant to entertain, I have to disagree. If you'll do a little thought experiment with me. How many pieces of media have utilized complex, open-ended ideas, not in service to their themes, but simply for entertainment value, and had their obligatory explanations for it all not be either A, the dumbest fucking thing you've ever heard, or B, really, really uninteresting and a distraction from things that matter more? That's right, it's very few. Okay, easy example time. Soma. Awesome game. I'm kind of surprised I haven't rambled about it for 15 minutes yet. The entirety of this story revolves around scans of brains being put into things. If the game is a car, brain scans are the fucking engine, alright? You hear me, you know what I'm saying. And you know how much of your time they devote to telling you how their imaginary brain scans that create fully functional copies of a human conscience work? It's very little. Because the whole idea is a lot less interesting in and of itself than it is as a vessel to explore themes of humanity and morality and loss and shit. I should note, Industria does not use any scientific idea, whether real or imaginary, in service to story or themes on the same level as Soma. But I think you're feeling my point all the same. Maybe it's become clear at this point that I'm cutting the game a lot of slack, so I want to be clear and say if this setting and these visuals don't look interesting to you, there's not really anything else to get excited about. I'm not going to say, you know, just give it a try even if you're not compelled to because it's a special thing. It isn't. Industria set out to tell me a simple story about an interesting and beautiful place, while holding my attention with so-and-so gameplay. And I enjoyed being in that place enough that its many problems didn't grate on me personally all that bad. At the end of the day, I'm happy I traded $20 and maybe helped a couple German Half-Life fans keep improving their craft. As always, thank you for stopping by, especially if you made it all the way here. Jesus Christ, that's serious devotion. I know everyone tells you guys to comment on everything and whatnot, but if you have any ideas of your own, whether on this game or regarding the channel, I really do want to hear them and I'll get back to you. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later.